Hi, my name is Storm and I'd like to welcome you to the Gourmet Raw Vegan webinar. And the purpose of this webinar is to explore adventures in gourmet raw vegan food preparation. Now, for whatever reason, we decided to depart from the SAD diet and to explore the raw vegan diet. And some of us come with a lot of curiosity, some of us come for health reasons. But the one thing that most of us have in common is that we really enjoy our food. Cooked food has been around for 10,000 years. That means 10,000 years of experimenting, of refining different recipes from all over the world. So when you eat cooked food, you have a huge variety of cuisines to choose from. But when you go into the raw vegan world, the raw vegan movement in its current format is less than 20 years old. So that means that there is not a wide variety of foods to choose from like we have in the cooked world. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be limited to a really bland, non-pleasing diet. Raw food is delicious. I totally love raw food way more than I love cooked food, because raw food still has all of the flavors in it. It does take a little more thought, it does take a little more creativity, because you don't have the huge, vast experiences of thousands of chefs from all over the world creating recipes that have been around for hundreds of years. And they don't, like raw food, it's kind of hard on the tongue saying raw food, whereas when you say steak filet mignon, when you say sauteed mushrooms, when you saute, I mean, the language alone of cooked food is way more appealing and poetic than raw food. But that's just on the surface. When you walk into a kitchen where food is being cooked, you can smell all of the aromas. And the reason that you can smell the aromas is because all of the flavor is in the air, it's no longer in the food. To me, cooked food now tastes very, very bland, and it's without vitality and the force of flavor. Whereas raw food still has all of the flavors locked in. It's juicier. Like when you saute an onion, it becomes kind of blah. The same way with celery, and with like sauteing even broccoli, it becomes limp and becomes kind of like without the flavor that raw food has. So as raw vegan chefs, our job is to take this paradigm and really make it work. To make it work on a level that you can invite people who aren't raw vegan, who have never heard of the raw vegan diet. You can invite them to a dinner and they will enjoy it just as much as if it was cooked food. And I've done this many times. This is I think this is a proven fact of life. I've done this many times. I prepared food for people who weren't raw vegans, who had never heard of the raw vegan diet, and they enjoyed the food immensely. So let's just jump right in. I've sent you a list of recipes. So we're not going to actually put on demonstrations, because we wouldn't be able to cover very much ground if I was just chopping everything up and demonstrating it. The instructions are in the recipes. So let's explore the concepts, because that's where you'll be able to take one recipe. Like say we're making apple pie and the recipe calls for cinnamon. Well, the next time you do it, you can use pumpkin spice, or you can use allspice. You're not limited to just cinnamon or just nutmeg. Like I encourage you to be creative and to like expound on the different recipes that are here. These are just a basic guideline. The cool thing about these recipes is they're proven. I've been doing this diet for 44 years. I started when I was 20 years old. I'm 64 now, and all of the recipes that I've sent you are recipes that I have personally developed. This is how I personally eat, and I am in optimum health right now. knock on wood, but I am. If you look at my medicine cabinet, you will find no drugs. I'm on no medications. I don't have any debilitating chronic conditions, which is pretty prevalent when a person gets my age. And I think the reason is because all raw food is alkaline. Even if it has acid in it, it helps to create an alkaline environment within our system. That's why we do this diet, is so that we can change the numbers and the percentages and chances that we'll catch cancer, that we will have a heart condition, that we will have inflamed joints, which is arthritis and rheumatism and gout. These are all diseases of inflammation. That we won't have a lot of the chronic debilitating conditions that afflict us. Some of us, even in our 20s, but especially in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, we start to accumulate a lot of, this retention of morbid waste matter that comes from eating a lot of food that we can't really process and digest. So we're overeating and we're not digesting or processing it. And so the raw vegan diet really addresses a lot of these situations all at once. When the food has enough nutrients in it, and that's the real benefit of raw food, is the amazing amount of nutrients that you are able to assimilate. So you don't have to eat as much. You're not accumulating as many toxins. And now if we can just take it one step further and bring taste into it, and so that we enjoy our food as much as we enjoy to cook food, then we can do this diet forever. That's the way I feel. I will eat raw food for the rest of my life. I am never going back to eating cooked food. I enjoy cooked food. Cooked food tastes great. But if you really break it down into its individual components, and you think about how flour tastes, have you ever eaten white flour? It's blah. It tastes like chalk dust. There's no taste there. It is the chef, the art of the chef, the pastry chef that's able to make it into the really wonderful flaky pie crust, that's able to make it into, like the wonderful glazed donuts. And it's the same way with raw food. We can take all of the individual components and combine them together into the most delicious gourmet meals and dishes. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on desserts. We're going to focus on concepts of entrees, the main course, and we're going to focus on the concepts of soups, creams, and sauces. And that pretty much covers, a huge variety of foods. I'm not going to demonstrate, like the different cutting up and everything right now. Just go to the recipes for that, for the variety. What I will, try to really focus on is the fact that we can be totally healthy. We can eat enough to be totally satisfied, not put on any weight. If we have weight, we will lose it. This is the optimum diet for human beings. And if you really stop to think about it, we're the only animal in the world that cooks our food. And we're the only animal in the world that needs Obamacare. And when you talk to the average person about being a raw vegan, they look at you like you're crazy. Like, wow, why would anybody want to do that? But look at all of the health problems that we have. And can it really be tied in? Can we connect the dots and say these health problems are directly related to our inability to digest the food? A lot of the food that we're eating is produced by corporations. The processed food industry is not prepared for us. It's prepared for shelf life. They put a lot of chemicals in the food to prolong the shelf life. They even put addictive chemicals like monosodium glutamate into the food to make it addictive to us, so we will become customers for life. But the food is not prepared in a healthy way. Remove those chemicals. you still have the same taste. It's still the same food. It just doesn't have the shelf life. It just doesn't have the addictive qualities that food that has been saturated with monosodium glutamate has. So we don't want to eliminate fat, even though that seems to be the first thing people want to do is low-fat diets because they're eating bad fat. Anytime you heat an oil up, it becomes toxic. So when we eat fried foods, we're eating food that basically we can't digest, that is toxic. It has a deleterious effect on our health, and it clogs our arteries up. It does put, weight on us because we can't process it. It just gets stored in different places, mainly in our belly. So we carry a lot of belly fat, which is totally unhealthy because it impedes the function of organs. It produces growth hormones that promote tumors. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of things that happen when we put on a lot of belly fat. So we panic and then we stop eating fat altogether. But fat is a macronutrient. The brain needs fats. It needs oils. It needs the omega fatty acids in order to function properly. There are vitamins, especially in the vitamin B complex, that need fat in order to be assimilated into the body. So we don't want to just do away with fat. Olive oil, hemp oil, and flaxseed oil are wonderful sources of good cholesterol, as long as we don't overdo it. I mean, you can overdo anything and it becomes toxic, but as long as it's kept within certain bounds, this is part of having a balanced diet. Now, one of the things that I recently discovered that I love doing, especially in the summertime, is what I call sun cooking. I cook with the sun. I'll put the food out in the sun, and sometimes I cover it. If I cover it, then it becomes moist because all of the moisture is retained. But if I take the top off, then the sun kind of dries it out a little bit. And so that's your choice. You can do kale like that. You can take, matter of fact, try this as an experiment. Take some black dino kale, rip the stems out, tear it up so it's really, really fine, cover it with some olive oil, a little Celtic sea salt, and crushed cashews that you grind up in a blender. Like 1 or 2 bunches of kale, a cup to a cup and a half of ground cashews, and a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and then mix it all together and put it out in the sun. You can spread some other herbs and spices on it, like paprika or curry, or it's totally up to you. Put it out in the sun, in the afternoon sun, and then at 4 o'clock come back and see what you have. It's delicious. The sun heats things up so that all of the oils blend together, and there is absolutely no difference between frying something, deep frying it, and setting it out in the sun for a couple of hours. And it works in 65 degrees sun, 70 degrees, 80 degrees is optimum. You're not cooking the food, but once it heats up, you can even do it with soups. You put soup, you make celery soup, and you put it out in the sun for a couple of hours, covered up, and you can't tell that it is not cooked, but it still has all of the benefits. It has all of the vitamins, all of the enzymes, everything is still present, but the pleasure of eating this warm soup as compared with gazpacho or cold soups is that it tastes really, really well. It tastes really, really well. So at this point, I'm going to break off the lecture and turn it into a question and answer period. Let me know if you have any questions, and let's see if we can explore on a personal, individual basis how to really fine-tune the raw vegan diet and make it work, not only for you, but for your friends, your family, and anybody that you invite over for dinner, whether they're, like straight up carnivore, standard American diet, or just kind of curious.